Film, Braden Sitter Sr. And the animator of the shitting dinosaurs, Tanner Massa. So guys, so Braden, I want to start with you first. You live in Toronto, yes?
That's right.
Where were you when all the poo-poo stuff went down in 2019?
Just hanging out. I had a t-shirt company, and the week before the attacks, we put out the t-shirt you can get for merch that said PP versus poo poo. It was a joke because there's a famous Detroit shirt that says Detroit versus everybody, and somebody in Toronto was doing a Toronto versus everybody shirt that was kind of driving up the wall because, you know, like, Detroit kind of really is versus everybody, and Toronto's not really. So then I did this PP versus poo poo shirt, and Rishi Rodriguez modeled it, and then like a week later, this thing happened, which I only put those thoughts together later.
So you made all this happen.
We all manifested collectively.
And Tanner, if anybody is on Letterboxd, Tanner's Letterboxd review of this film is a thing of beauty. From reading this Letterboxd review, you were just kind of approached. You didn't know anything about this. What was your instruction from Braden?
The instruction was, can you do the Tree of Life dinosaur sequence, but instead of him putting his foot on the other dinosaur, he shits on him. And I had never been hired to do animation before. I was just kind of starting to do contract work, and I told Braden, I was like, look, I mostly do humanoids. Like, it's gonna look bad. And he said, honestly, the worse it looks, the better. And when it took a while, it was a lot more work than I expected. He reached out and he's like, dude, if you need more money, I can go do another medical study. Like, no problem.
Yeah, this film was paid for with medical studies. Is that true?
Yeah. I do a lot of medical studies because, you know, if you want to make movies, you gotta have like the time to do it. And medical studies usually just on the weekends, and it also pays pretty good. But also, I just want to say about that animation, that, you know, that bit with the sun and the dot, and you don't really know what it is, and then it turns out to be the asteroid. That was like all Tanner's idea, which I thought when I saw it, I was really, really happy about it. So I just give it up for Tanner.
Chicago's own Tanner, right? So, what I find most interesting about this film, and I guess both of you can speak on this if you have thoughts, is that it is incredibly stupid, but it is also incredibly empathetic. Like, you really go inside the mind of someone who might do something like this, and like, where does your sympathy for the pee-pee poo-poo man come from?
It's all sympathy for myself because, well, I didn't really know why he did that. Like, he wouldn't respond to my Facebook messages, so then I had to imagine what would it take for me.
Did you Facebook message the guy?
Well, he didn't get back to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried. So I was just trying to put myself like in his shoes, like, you know, what would it take? And I think this was what I came up with, you know, just a badass trip.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, you saw the movie.
No, my favorite thing about it is that, yeah, I knew Braden was having this really immature sense of humor. Like, I think the first shirt I bought from him is D.B. Cooper, and it just says, I have a bomb. And
Oh, that's the one that will get you arrested at the airport.
yeah, it's exactly, one of many, yeah. And I didn't expect him to have such a level of sensitivity, like the little vignettes of seeing people like affected by the Pee-Pee Poopa Man, like it takes on this really spiritual presence. And, you know, I think the park bench scene with the two friends is like just breathtakingly beautiful, and I thought it was going to be just, you know, diarrhea jokes the whole time.
They're sisters in real life, actually. Because I was smoking weed at their house one day in COVID, and I saw them go like that for like 2 hours.
So, is that scene based in real life sister arguments?
Well, the backstory was, like, for the one character was that she had a rabid dog, and we filmed all this stuff for like looking for the dog and going to get the rabies shots, because she actually did get bit by a dog, not her own. She doesn't have a dog, she had cats. But this was the backstory. We shot like a lot of backstories for everybody, like hours, and then so that backstory was kind of established. But everything about the skirt was like actually like real life, because the thing is, like, they can't plan for shit. Like, they always show up late, and I didn't plan for them not being able to plan. So by the time they both showed up, like very late, we only had like 20 minutes to shoot the scene.
Oh, wow.
And she was mad about the skirt thing. And then so I said, okay, just like, you know, take it out on her in the scene. And then when I saw like, oh yeah, you know, it's kind of like going this one direction, I said like, oh yeah, you have a rabid dog situation, so like push back, you know? And that's why I had to keep cutting to the fucking trees, you know, which I like the way it looks, but like I just didn't get the coverage on that.
So like, because that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that you hear the backstory of all these people that get dumped on, and the pee-pee poo-poo man. Like, you really kind of feel for everybody in this situation, and then you cut to a Pixies parody song about shit?
Yeah, we like really wildly overshot everything. Like there's a love triangle in there that's like so short. I mean, we shot like a whole ass like one-quarter movie, like 90 minutes long, and like everybody had these like the people who were in the movie for and that just cut their thing down. So like there's a handful of dumps that are like not that good, and I just try to cut those really fast. That was kind of when I was still working out how to do that. But like you don't really get like a second opportunity because everybody's already like, covered in chocolate ice cream is what we used.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah, so like, and that's when I started to get like better cameras too, because I was like, we need more angles on this, and all my friends actually have good cameras. So, yeah, I ended up just like kind of overdoing it, like you know, shooting, and then you know, when it came time to edit, I was, it was constructive. Like, you know, it was nice to have so much to pick and choose from.
Yeah, the first cut I saw of the movie was like 30 minutes, and I don't think a single frame is in the final cut of the movie. Agent Goro was played by Joe Pantoliano cameos that they paid for and put in, and then
Oh, like cameos, like order them online.
Yeah, we had to actually like cut out Joe Pantoliano like for legal reasons, but also because like later on I was like, oh, it would be so funny if he showed up in person, but I couldn't get in touch with Joe's people.
But you did get Paul Bellini of Kids in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, oh, we got some Paul heads.
Yeah. Paul heads in the audience?
Yeah, Neil Neil plays on his new album. If you guys like Paul, you gotta listen to Mouth Congress is his band, and Neil played like some kind of musical instrument in there, and so I was just gonna shoot the scene with Neil, and then he said, well, you know, Paul's interested, so yeah, obviously I want to have Paul in the movie.
So you didn't even have to pitch him. I was going to ask what your pitch was.
I was like, he was like, can you give me a couple $100? And then by the time we were done shooting, he was like, dude, just like keep it. Yeah, he felt bad. And he wrote that poem himself.
Okay. So either he believed in you or he felt sorry for you. You can't tell.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask.
Well, we have some other Toronto legends. Anybody here from Toronto? Woo! Hey! Woo! One guy. Can you tell us a little bit more about Reg Hart, who shows up in the beginning of the movie with the suspenders?
If you guys ever go to Toronto, you got to check out the Cineforum, and you can watch. You can usually watch Metropolis. You can often see like Napoleon, like the old one that's really long. You can see he was the first guy that was doing like Radiohead and Nosferatu, and somebody else like kind of like ripped him off for like if you guys saw that last summer or something. But you can go to his house and he'll say pretty much word for word the entire scene, like you know, like the tour. You know, like he's got the Turin Shroud replica that he's like the authorized replica of the Turin Shroud, and he's got like the Lillian Gish autograph and like all that stuff. And he has been doing it like since the 60s, so that's like 60 years. And just a character, and those posters are like he's been putting those up. Like I started coming to visit Toronto when I was like 13, and he always had posters like everywhere, and I was always kind of too scared to go. But then you know I needed to have a scene where like Miguel was like you know, I was trying to reverse engineer, like, how do we end up getting staples in his head? I thought, well, what if he had a staple gun for his job? And then I thought, well, it's obviously postering, and then we just worked backwards, and I thought, well, you know, maybe Reg is doing it.
What'd you pitch Reg?
I just knew that there was no way to, like, get Reg with anything other than total honesty. And I just told him straight up, like, this is what it is. And he was like, yeah, that's great, like, let's do it. And then on the day when we were shooting it, like, you might have noticed, like, that scene is not exactly like shot as well as maybe like the rest of it, you know, not that it's like great or anything, but like that there's a part where they're sitting like face to face is like pretty iffy. and he would only do like 2 takes, and I said like, Reg, please, like, you know, I fucked it up, like come on, like help me out, just give me 1 more. And he's like, Marlon Brando only does 1, and I need 2. And that's not enough. And so I was like, fuck, so we just sorted out in the editing room.
Well, let's talk about like the shooting of the film a little bit. I assume this was all completely above board. Everybody signed a release.
Yeah,
you know, no guerrilla filmmaking here.
No, we don't do that in Toronto.
And so you have a lot of people credited as camera on this film. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there's actually like more filmmakers than there are actors. Like I think we got like 3 or 4 actors. Well, like they're like, pretty much, you know, anybody in the credits, they're all making short films, and we're all kind of like, you know, everybody's broke and nobody's got any money, so everybody kind of like banks favors, and you know, we're friends anyway, so we're not banking favors at this point. But yeah, it's just like who's around. Like I need like as many cameras as I can get on this dump, because you know, if I mess it up, I want to like be able to, you know, cut around it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just like send out the text, like who's free on Saturday, like, you know, let's go, bring whatever camera, I don't care.
And
In the past week of just spending time with Braden is you know, he'll show me this like incredible trailer for a short film or a feature and have all these stories like, oh yeah, that's the guy who's meditating and he gets shit dumped on him. Like, it just seems like it's a really, really exciting scene happening in Toronto, and I love what you're doing with it.
Yeah, it's going good. It's going real good out there.
yeah, like in the film, Ben Petrie's in the film. He's in a couple films coming out, Dead Lover, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
And the heirloom.
An heirloom, yeah. And then Leah Rose Stefanis, did anybody see In a Violent Nature? Mm-hmm. She's the girl who gets pulled into the lake in A Violent Nature. She's in this movie. She's the one who asks where the CN Tower is, and he says, why would a hot girl talk to me? That's Leah. But so this kind of group of people that you're talking about, I forget where they were from, but there's a critic in Toronto that called it the New Toronto Bazaar. How do you guys feel about that designation?
Well, at first we were excited to be in the newspaper, but we were also a little bit embarrassed because he said it was like a new film movement. And we were like, okay. But you know, I don't know, like, you know, I'm super happy that, you know, that article happened, because it's like it is kind of like a good marketing thing, and I'll fucking take all the help I can get, really. But there is like honestly like pretty like you know, like charitable sensibility, you know, if you just kind of show up at a couple screenings and you're interested and you kind of have a couple beers, like everybody wants to help, and you know, everybody's kind of sick of applying for grant money that, you know, they have to wait like a year to get, and it never feels like enough. So like, you know, there's like a really like strong like DIY spirit right now that I'm super happy to be like a part of, because I've lived there for 10 years, and you know, it was only in the last couple of years that this kind of popped off, and I was always kind of like wondering like, where's my film friends? Like, how come I'm not like finding people that are, you know, I could get my friends to do stuff, but you know, I was never finding anybody who was doing their own thing that we could kind of like, you know, connect in that way. So like, yeah, it's cool that it's happening now.
Yeah, I think it's really similar to kind of the spirit of the Chicago filmmaking scene, where it's all very DIY and everybody works together on each other's projects and stuff like that. So I'm sure y'all have questions. We're gonna cut to the audience in just a minute. But also, if y'all don't know, Braden travels with this movie, right? Like, you self-distribute it, and when did you get here?
Oh, I came last Thursday, so I could start getting the posters up early.
Yeah, and you do that everywhere you go, right? You flyer and
Yeah,
just
but I'm
kind of
trying-
tell people about the movie?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that last, because it's like I miss my home. You know?
Well, I think it worked, right?
But if anybody knows a movie theater that would play the movie, like, please, like, help me out.
Yeah, because we said a few people here came because they saw the flyers, like directors all over your work. People came out for the show. It's working. So I just have one more question for you, then we'll throw to the audience. Can you guys tell us a little bit more about the Pee Pee Poo Poo Band? Because I can't stop laughing every single time that CCR parody comes up. Like, I watched this on the screener for the first time just at home on my laptop, and I had to pause because I was laughing so hard. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
That was well, that was sort of like started back when we had like the Joey Pants cut, and I was just using any music that I wanted, and then sort of like as I started to like put more and more work into it, and realized like I can't make any money off of this if I do this like totally illegal version. And I had this idea of just like getting away with it with like parody, like parody law, you know, like I just kept like thinking, oh yeah, parody law, like we can do this, like it's fair use. But I couldn't find anybody who was like talented enough, and I had this to like, you know, execute it. And I had no money. And my buddy Steven was like, I could do that, but like if you guys like are music guys or know music guys, like music guys are always like, I could do anything, like, you know, musically. And he it just wasn't happening. And it was like 2 weeks before like I had to like have the final cut of the movie because it was premiering, and he was like, we could get the band together on this Sunday. And I said like, wow, this is probably not even gonna work out. But the music really kind of sucked in the second act because I wanted to use the synthy stuff for the first act, which I really liked. And then, but the second act was kind of just like stock stuff, and it just wasn't very good. So I said like, let's just try it. And for half the day, I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like this sounds like shit. But I don't really know how to make music, so I didn't know it was actually going really well. And they kind of like, they did all those songs in one day, and then in like, you know, like a week, I just cut it all into the movie, and it's like so much better. Like I always wanted all of that section of the movie to be like ecstatic, because that's kind of like what, like his experience, and I think that the music like gets us like so much closer to that than you know, the stuff I had before, and it's also just really fun.
Yeah, and that sort of balance between the stupid and the sublime that I was talking about, that makes this movie so honestly special. Like I've never seen anything quite like it.
Okay,